Hello everybody, welcome to the Red Devil Experience. We're here live doing the Red Devil Daily. Marcus Rashford has apparently been listed for sale by Manchester United. And apparently also Amorim wants Rashford gone as well. We're going to get into this latest breaking news. There's breaking news coming out right now about Marcus Rashford. So we're going to get to the very latest about this. This update started about 7 or 8 hours ago. This morning, as you can see up on the screen next to me, this was the initial report that came out by Jamie Jackson, credible journalist, saying Marcus Rashford has been put up for sale. Manchester United are ready to sell him in January. Ruben Amorim has decided he needs to leave. The feeling at the club is that Rashford's time is up. Big statement. Obviously, this is coming off of the back of that him and Alejandro Garnacho were dropped from the matchday squad in the Manchester derby yesterday. They were not involved at all. Little bit of a surprise that they were dropped completely from the matchday squad. I don't think anybody was really expecting that to happen. You know, if it was from just from the starting 11, I think it would have been a little less shocking. But the fact that it was from the whole squad was actually kind of a big surprise to everybody in the fan base. But before we get into the rest of the news, please smash the like button for me. It helps the channel grow, so I greatly appreciate it if you could smash the like button. It takes 2 seconds of your time, and it's a massive help to the channel. And if you're new and you enjoyed the content, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get the live notifications when we go live. We go live constantly. We go live weekly. So, but let's get straight into the news. So, following that update from Jamie Jackson, which came out about 7 hours ago. There were further updates saying Manchester United are genuinely open to selling Marcus Rashford, and they want around 40 to 55 million pounds. More updates were that Barcelona have made initial inquiries into the availability of Marcus Rashford this January. And that's coming from a source called Total Barca. So not 100% sure how credible that source is. They have 442,000 followers on Twitter. And they do news and opinion about Barcelona. So, you know, take that how you want to. And let me get the rest of these sources because I lost the page. And there's a lot extra being tagged on to this now. So, that was about 2 hours ago, that last update. Now, Marcus Rashford, this is from Melissa Reddy saying Marcus Rashford faces a challenge to save his Manchester United future, with the club willing to cut ties with the forward if he does not elevate his standards on and off the pitch. Melissa Reddy following up on that update 2 hours ago, saying Ruben Amorim has been unimpressed with Marcus Rashford's application at the training ground and his general demeanor, which led to his omission from the squad yesterday. Melissa Reddy also coming and saying, as it stands, there are no suitors for Marcus Rashford due to his off-pitch behavior, form, and mega salary. This was the same issue in the summer, which is contradictory to the Barcelona source. So, but maybe it's light interest in Marcus Rashford, and maybe it's not concrete, and she's talking about concrete interest. Paul Hurst, who is the reporter for Times Sport covering Manchester City and Manchester United, and previously chief football writer at the PA, has come out 54 minutes ago saying Manchester United have asked some of their players if they or anyone close to them were responsible for the leaking of the starting lineup for Sunday's derby against Manchester City. Well, I think that's kind of foolish because it's not like any player is gonna, you know, if the player that is doing it, because we know that it is at least 1 or 2 players, you know, those players are not going to come forward and say, yeah, I did it. So asking them, you know, if they did it, you're not going to get any answers from that. So, you know, that's kind of weird and kind of foolish that they're doing that. I don't think they're going to get anywhere with that route. They got to go a different route for sure. But to follow up more, Ruben Amorim was unhappy about Manchester United's starting lineup being leaked for the game against Manchester City because he felt that it could undermine his team's chances of victory. Well, that's obvious, and obviously, he spoke about this already, and he did say that obviously it's not a good thing, and it's hard to stop in today's time, and I do agree with him on that. It is hard to stop, but it's not a good look for the club. It's not good, in general, and also it could provide problems. It could provide big problems because that lineup was leaked. Disgracefully by Samuel Luckhurst a good 15 hours before the match. We had United fan accounts that were putting out a couple players starting maybe 2 hours before the match. And they've pretty much stopped that since it's been called out because they, are fans of the club and they understand. And they're reading the room. So they're no longer doing that. But Samuel Luckhurst, being the miserable prat that he is, decided that he was going to leak the full team from whoever he got it from 15 hours before an important match against Manchester City away. And if I was Manchester United, I would literally ban him. I would literally ban him and the Manchester Evening News. You intentionally did that to try and hurt Manchester United the day before one of the biggest matches of the season, and in a big and important match as well. And I wouldn't allow them to come anywhere near the club anymore because that's not a professional thing to do. Lyle is in here. Lyle, how are you? How is everything? Hope you're doing well. We're just talking about the latest news. Most of it's about Marcus Rashford. Some of it's about the leaks. The lineup leaks that have been happening a lot more recently. So Paul Hurst followed up that with at least 2 Manchester United players were asked by club employees about the leaking of the team. Both denied being involved. United were insistent today that no formal investigation has been launched into the matter. And the Sun named the 2 players as Alejandro Garnacho and Amad Diallo. But that's the Sun, and they probably took that from, things being said online that it was either Diallo or Garnacho, because of the whole Twitter type thing. I could see the angle for Garnacho. I still don't think it was Garnacho, but I could see the angle for Garnacho because Garnacho had contact and some type of a, friendly relationship with some of these accounts on social media, these aggregator accounts and people like that. Ahmad doesn't even really use social media all that much, and if he does, he doesn't really use X. He uses Instagram. So I don't think it would be him. I don't think it's Garnacho either. I actually think it's somebody that's English. But I don't know who it could be. Grace is in here, says, let's get this party started, people. Guys, I need to be honest. I can't hold it anymore. I'm the stick. Grace is the one that's been leaking all this information. So, United can close the investigation. We found the leaker. It's Grace. It's our moderator. So, 43 minutes ago, Mark Ogden has reported saying that a move to the MLS at some stage in his career would hold great appeal to Marcus Rashford. And I actually believe that because, again, brand Rashford would love to capitalize on the US market. The US, US sports is highly marketable. They make a lot of money off of marketing US sports. Especially, you've seen what a high profile player like Messi or David Beckham. Now, I don't know if Marcus Rashford himself per se maybe he likes, I mean, he clearly likes to go to the United States. He goes there often, so maybe he likes the lifestyle. Maybe he likes, you know, being around um these other sort of celebrities and stuff like that. So maybe he likes that stuff, and maybe that's one of the things. I don't think it's really, about MLS football. I don't think he's eager to really be in that league for the football. I think he's there for the marketability and maybe the lifestyle of New York and America, and the high profileness. You could be around people like LeBron James and other high profile athletes and stuff like that. They're 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 talked about a lot here. They're more put on social media and talked about on TV a lot. So I have a feeling like somebody like people around in his brand are sort of pushing that. Grace is saying that she's the Laker deal with the United. Well, they do certainly have to deal with it. Grace, you're gonna get banned. But 35 minutes ago, Mark Ogden followed up that initial MLS report on Marcus Rashford, saying if if Manchester United are ready to listen to offers to sign Marcus Rashford in January, sources say the Bundesliga would become an option if they were prepared to consider a loan move similar to Jadon Sancho's at Borussia Dortmund last season. Which is interesting, but I don't think both parties. I mean, not both parties. I don't think Manchester United. I think that's a last option sort of resort for Manchester United. I think if they're gonna choose that Marcus has to go, they're obviously gonna look to sell him first. They're gonna want a permanent move off of the bat, but maybe they're forced down that route if they can't get a suitable bidder, right? If they can't get a good enough bid, if they can't get a good enough offer, they might have to loan him somewhere for a season and hope that he has some type of a good performance like Jadon Sancho did at Borussia Dortmund, and then be able to move him on to another team after. Grace asking, do you think Rashi will take a pay cut or hold United to all the wages he's owed? I don't think he'll take a pay cut. I don't think he will, Grace. I think most players don't, when they're tied to the contract and they're not necessarily desperate to leave, because I don't think Marcus Rashford is. See, the thing about Marcus Rashford, I was talking about it today with my friend, because I was messaging my friend. I could see him going to Bayern. Well, maybe, but here's the thing. I was talking to one of my friends, and we were talking about the game yesterday, and he told me Ahmad is a baller. I said, yeah, he's balling out right now. And then I told him, I said, Rashford, I think he's done, bro. And he was like, yeah, it seems so. He was like, I don't understand, like what happened. And I told him, I gave him my opinion, and my opinion is that I'll read you exactly what I wrote, word for word. I said, he's just sort of developed what appears to be this bad attitude and this sort of bad mentality. He's not supposedly not doing things on the training pitch that he's being asked to do, or he's not, doing good enough on the training pitch, and we're not seeing it on the pitch in match days either. We're not seeing it in matches. I don't see what he does in training, but I see what he does in matches. And then I told him, it feels like to me, the current situation, it's like when you're in a relationship with someone and the relationship is dead, but you don't actually end the relationship because you've been with that person for so long that it's just like what you're used to. So you kind of just let it continue because you don't really want to put yourself in a position of like uncomfortableness, basically. Like you have to push yourself outside of the zone that you've been in for so long. And when you do things like that, it's not good for either or of the person. And then I told him, like, to me, he looks disinterested and unhappy at United. Like, it's kind of seems like he's kind of been over it for some time, but he's reluctant to actually leave because it's been his whole life and he doesn't necessarily want to leave. And England is his home. Manchester United has been his place since a young boy. And it kind of just looks to me like he's in that spot where, like, deep down he's really over it. He's tired of all the criticism, the media. In his point of view, he doesn't get a certain appreciation that he thinks he deserves. He thinks he's constantly targeted and stuff like this. And I think he's been fed up for a while. But he hasn't pushed to actually go anywhere because he's still reluctant, because it's like, still has this sort of feeling of like, but this is my home. And I don't really want to leave, but I am kind of tired of this place and this setting that I'm in. So that's what I told him, because that's what I have my opinion based on the whole thing right now. And Lyle's saying the Aaron Wan-Bissaka transfer kind of set a precedent. He got paid out of his contract, so what's stopping other players of demanding the same? Well, they absolutely can do that, but they mostly usually do that when they're in contracts and they're not necessarily looking for a move, but the club is, looking to move them on. They will hold out for their wage because, again, I won't necessarily blame them, right? Like, they are under a contract. They are technically guaranteed that money as long as they're there. Now, if the club decides, well, we want to move you on, well, from their perspective, they're like, yeah, but I have 4 years, or I have 4 years left of getting paid $350,000 a week. Why should I now have to accept $200,000 a week because you want to move me on? You figure it out, and I'll go if you figure it out. But I'm keeping my wage. I'm not taking a pay cut because you want to sell me. So I get that. That's understandable. I'm not gonna hate on that because I'm gonna be honest. If I was a player and a club wanted to move me on, I'm not taking a pay cut because the club wants to move me on. You can move me on and I'll go, right? But I'm not taking less money than what I'm making now because you want to move me on. You sort that out on your end. I'm gonna take my wage. You know, that's just how it is. Everybody kind of has to go look after themselves at that point, right? But Gray saying Rashford should be respectful to the club and just leave without a fuss. Well, yeah. Listen, I think there's ways to go about it, Grace. I think I don't think you have to necessarily disrespect the club. And I think I don't think you necessarily have to cause major problems for the club, but I don't. I know people view it one way or the other, but I kind of don't necessarily have a problem with him trying to hold out for his wage. Because I get it. Like, I understand it. And he doesn't, he might not necessarily want to leave anyway. Like, he might not necessarily want to leave, but if the club wants him out, I get the argument that he's like, well, I have this, we made a contract and you're breaking the contract by trying to sell me. You gave me this money. So it falls on you to really figure it out. Why should I have to, kind of take that on the chin? Now, you make the valid point of, like, we took you in from a young age and we provided a pathway for you, and we kind of helped you become what you are now. So you should be maybe a little bit graceful for it, and then just do what you need to do, take your pay cut and leave gracefully and go quietly and don't cause problems, and just let it end without major problems. But RSV saying Rashford has so much power at this football club, it's unbelievable. Mourinho wanted Martial, Pogba, and Lingard, and even Shaw and Rashford gone, but Woodward protected them over Mourinho. Well, yes. And that was obviously it's a different era now. At least we hope it's a different era, RSV, but you are 100% correct. I mean, the club absolutely at that time, especially, that was probably the peak of it. They absolutely threw Mourinho to the wolves. And they picked the players over Mourinho. And they sacked Mourinho, and they didn't allow him to get rid of any of those players. We're hoping now things are different. There's indications that it seems to be different. I mean, just from yesterday, it was the first time that it wasn't necessarily disciplinary action that was taken by Ruben Amorim. For example, like Rashford and Garnacho did not necessarily break curfew. They didn't, you know, do something like they didn't show up late for a team meeting or something like that. So it wasn't disciplinary. Well, excuse me, it wasn't disciplinary in that way. It was just more of you're not up to the standards, and I'm dropping you from the squad. And you're not going to be involved, and you're going to go do training. And I'll see how it goes later on in the week, and maybe get back into the squad. And that was kind of the first time that a manager has been able to kind of do that to Marcus Rashford, right? No manager has ever really done that. Mourinho probably wanted to do that to some of them. I think he did it at least from playing, but in terms of selling them and getting them out of the club, no manager has been able to actually do that because they haven't been properly backed. Now there was updates about this, and the updates about that was from the Sir Jim Ratcliffe side, basically saying when assessing Amorim's candidacy after Eric Ten Hag's sacking in October, Ratcliffe was impressed by the Portuguese willingness to address the level of change required. And this is from Jamie Jackson. And then followed up by saying Ratcliffe's view is that previous managers have attempted a revolution but were hampered by a lack of support, and is determined there will be alignment from top to bottom on the matter. So I hope that that's true, because if it is, then we're moving in the correct place. We're doing the correct things, and we're gonna see things actually happen at this football club that we haven't seen for years and years and years. Basically since Ferguson, because we all know that that was the issue. We all know that the manager was getting thrown on the bus. The players kept winning with player power. And right now, it seems like that dynamic is sort of shifting from what you said, RSV, um, because that's what it was. But I don't think that's what it is going to continue as. I think that dynamic is certainly shifting right now. So, I just have to do some. Rajat says he's overrated. Well, that may be so, but um, he listen. He had some good periods. He had some bad periods, but I think his time is really is actually. I think this is actually. Um, I think this is it. I think this is it. I think this is for real. I know this has been flirted with in the past, but I think this is for real now. I think it's coming to an end. RSV said though, he said Klopp and Pep both turned down Man United job offer because they were told by Woodward that they would need to deal with players being signed for commercial purposes, even with bad mentality. Well, yeah, it's something to that extent, basically. I mean, they knew and saw how it was operated. I mean, didn't Klopp say something like it was like Disneyland? Which is essentially basically exactly what you said. Like it was all commercialism. But we're hoping that that is changing. And I am my one hope that I hold out for is that because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is a billionaire, the Glazers might only actually listen to him because he's on their level instead of in terms of status and wealth. And I feel like Sir Jim has explained to them like you guys have been operating like the football club bad. Like you could actually be making more money, and you've been doing the football side really, really wrong, and it's starting to hurt your commercial side. And you did a fantastic job commercializing, but now that's not sustainable. So I hope I listen. I have no clue if he's said this, but I kind of feel like, because I was like, I don't know why they would allow this partnership, but I'm hoping that's what is being said, that allows Sir Jim and Ineos to actually be able to make proper football changes. Um, because the Glazers were obviously just doing things to make money through commercials. So um, Rashford and Garnacho as well learned from Pogba, Lingard, Martial. I don't want Maino to move into the same trajectory. Well, listen. Um, I mean that they were well. I don't think Garnacho learned from Pogba, Lingard, Martial, because he wasn't really around at that time. Rashford was in the middle of that, um, and so he may have been sort of influenced. He was definitely influenced in that group. I mean, that was the main core group. It was Rashford, Pogba, Lingard, Martial, right? Now, I don't know how these players exactly were, because we don't see what they do behind the scenes. So, yeah, they had some issues on social media and stuff like that. Martial, I think, was cut an unfair cloth as well. Because a lot of times they were just like, he doesn't smile, so therefore he's a problem or something like that. Which, like, the guy doesn't use social media, he doesn't do commercials, he doesn't do ads, he doesn't talk to the press. Martial always seemed very quiet to me. I never really put Martial in that sort of camp as the other ones. Like, Pogba's always out and about, Lingard as well, and Rashford. Um, but yeah, will you take Enzo from Chelsea? No, because he's not gonna come. Uh, hope that Garnacho can make it back to team if he can fix attitude. Well, I think that's the main sentiment that's being said right now, is that there is a way back for Garnacho. Garnacho is 20 years old. I think Garnacho is definitely salvageable. I think there is definitely a way back for Alejandro Garnacho. I think this is a temporary thing for Garnacho. I think it's something needed for Garnacho, because I think we've kind of seen in his performances as well. His head has gotten a little bit too big, um, and it's been influencing his performances on the pitch, and his performances have dipped. So I think Amorim has done something proper and kind of put his foot down on it and gave him a little bit of a smack back to reality and be like, hey, like, you better, straighten up your shit, because you are walking around and acting like you already made it and you're 20 years old and you ain't make shit yet. So get your act together, keep working hard, and don't get complacent and don't act like you're the king of the place when you're not. You're a talented player, you have a long career ahead of you, and you can make what you want of it, but don't get too big for you, too big for your head. So I think with Garnacho is redeemable. I think Marcus Rashford is not redeemable, because Marcus Rashford is 27, and he's had these problems with numerous managers, and also, um, I think there's been clear examples, uh, with different managers, of him acting in the way that he does, or behaving in the way that he does. And I think Ineos have taken a notice of that as well. Specifically, somebody like a Sir David Brailsford. Um, yeah, so no, Eric Ten Hag did it with Jaden. Favorite 7-Eleven item. The Slurpees, I guess. Lyle is saying, I want Rashford to leave personally. If he revives his career elsewhere, then good on him. But he is a shadow of himself at United shirt now. No way back from my opinion. Well, Warren J saying 9 watching, 4 likes. What the fuck? Like the video, guys and girls. Well, thank you for that. But yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. But appreciate it. But what Lyle said, I'm one that I've liked Marcus Rashford for a while. He was one of my favorite players, but I've come to the point where it's I think it just feels time that he has to go. It really does. And again, it's because I just look at it and I'm just like, I look at him when he's on the pitch. I look at his body language. I look at the way he sort of responds, through his football on the pitch, and I just look at the whole situation like it's gone really sour. All over the place. It's gone really sour. It looks like he's sour with the club and the fans. The fans are sour with him. It just doesn't look like a positive thing for anybody. So I think in the best situation, I think it's best for everybody to move on. I feel like he's hanging on to something that he knows is pretty much dead, and he's watering it. He's basically trying to like water a dead plant. And we're trying to water a dead plant, and it's useless because we're just wasting each other's time, and we're wasting each other's energy. And there's no need for it. We just need to go in separate directions. We're trying to do a rebuild. And he needs to kind of revitalize his career. I mean, he's not in the England squad anymore. And he needs to, and this is the thing though, as well. Like, he needs to accept some accountability. He needs to accept responsibility. Like, it's not just like that, like, it's bad at Manchester United. Like, you're doing so bad that you're not even in the England squad anymore, and you were always in the England squad. So it's not just about Manchester United, because you ain't even in the national team either. And that's how bad you are doing. That's how bad you have been. And he kind of has to like look at that and be like, why? I'm messing up. So get Bentancur from Tottenham Hotspur. He used to play 2 and midfield over Juve. Maybe it's good. Garnacho typically needs confidence to perform. Maybe this time or some break is going to do him the world of good. Let's see how it holds. Well, it'd be interesting to see. I think both of them are going to come back into the squad. Because I think with Amorim, I think this was a warning. In some sort of way. I think it was a warning shot to them. But I don't think it was like the nail in the coffin just yet. I think he's gave him a little slap. And he's gonna see what is the response from them. And it depends how they respond. If they come back, and they do what he requires them to do and acts the way that he wants them to act, and holds themselves to a certain standard, then I think he'll take them back in. But if they react to this poorly and negatively, and they have a piss poor attitude, and they're going through the motions in training, and they don't give a shit, and stuff like that, then I think they're gonna continue to be out. So but there's more updates, so let's hit those real quick. Sources say neither Manchester United or Marcus Rashford can count on interest from Spain's La Liga or Italy's Serie A due to the financial strain being experienced by the leading teams in each country. Well, it's been talked about that Manchester United, they are aware that he's on a high wage, so they may be willing to accept a lower fee, transfer fee, to facilitate this. So, which makes sense. But they also said that the reality for Marcus Rashford is that he likely has 2 options: sit out and fight his way back into form, and favor at Manchester United or move to Saudi Arabia? And that's from Mark Ogden. I don't think he's going to go to Saudi Arabia. I don't think he'll accept that. I think he would actually just sit it out. Um, Either take a loan to one of a better league. I don't think he'll go to Saudi Arabia. I don't think he'll accept that. So Laurie Whitwell is saying via Stretford Paddock, Manchester United is not on the agenda. Marcus Rashford is not on the agenda at PSG. And in Spain and Italy, only Real Madrid could potentially fund the move for Marcus Rashford right now, and they have zero interest in signing him. Well, that obviously is. Barcelona do not have the money or the appetite to pursue a move for Marcus Rashford. So yeah, and Ruben Amorim on Anthony says every person deserves a new beginning, and the power is in their hands because if they show it, I will put them into play. I just want to win. They're responsible to play, not me. He did a great job improving in that position. He has to defend more, but he has the ability to do it and has to do it himself. And I think again, like these comments that he makes are interesting coming off the back of Rashford being dropped out of the squad, but also this news that's coming out basically saying that he was not happy with the way that they were performing and training and carrying themselves. And then simultaneously, because he's not saying that, that's being reported, but simultaneously, he's coming out talking about other players and players like Anthony, who we thought was done and was going to be sold. And he's like saying that, like, this player actually has a chance to stay here. It's up to him. And the responsibility of if the players play or not is not on me, it's on them. It's based off of what they do. I don't control that. They have to choose to do what they have to do to put themselves in the best position. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the team leaks has nothing to do with Garnacho not being in the squad against Manchester City. That's coming from Laurie Whitwell. And see, there's a whole controversy in itself. The whole Garnacho thing is leaking stuff. I think is absolutely crazy, but yeah, I mean, Marcus Rashford has been put up for sale by Manchester United as part of a culture reboot deemed necessary to transform the club after standards are allowed to decline for more than a decade. So, I mean, I think that he just needs to go. I think it's time for him to go. Um, he hasn't been performing well. He doesn't look like he wants to be there. He doesn't look like he's interested in being there. Um, yeah, and so he, we just need to move him on. We just need to cash in, and go in a different direction. That's really it. Uh, uh, so see what else we got here. So one of the things was that Manchester United would countenance a cut price offer for Rashford. A move in January would be ideal, though his salary of £365,000 a week means only a few clubs could afford him. So I mean, it is true, but he definitely just has to go. His time is up. I don't think he is going to be able to turn it around. He hasn't been able to turn it around. And again, it just from from based purely off my opinion, it just looks very sour. He doesn't look happy. He doesn't look interested when he comes on the pitch. It's been a problem for quite some time. I've noticed it. Tons of people have noticed it. Tons of people have called it out. Some people are afraid to call it out because they don't want to character assassinate the guy because they don't know him personally. But just based off of what I see from him when on the pitch, I mean, one of the biggest examples to me is like he plays the match before Arsenal. He scores 2 goals. He starts on the bench. Um, for Arsenal, he gets put on, and he's playing in a match versus Arsenal when we need him to do something, and he's running around on the pitch like he could give 2 fucks, and he's not interested, and it all seems like that because he has that attitude of like, fuck you, I didn't start, and I felt like I should start because I literally scored 2 goals last game, and why the fuck am I coming off of the bench? And it's just like the wrong attitude. It's just a bad attitude. It's just a bad mentality. And that's how it appears. Um and this has been going on for quite some time. So I mean, this isn't like this just happened now with Amorim, and it's not like it just happened like, this season or something like that. Like this has happened numerous times with numerous different managers in numerous different periods. And at some point, where do we say that it actually is true that he has developed a bad attitude and a bad mentality? Because I think that's where it's gotten. I think somewhere along the line he has developed the wrong mentality and the wrong attitude, and it's no longer a fit, and it's no longer it's detrimental to the team chemistry. It's a problem. I think he is a problem in the club, like people have been saying for quite some time. I didn't want to really accept it because I liked him, and I kept picturing the young lad that came through the academy who was just happy to be there and who was happy to play for Manchester United. But I don't see that kid anymore. I don't see that. I don't see that same Marcus Rashford anymore. When I see him on the pitch for Manchester United, he doesn't look happy to be there. He doesn't look happy to be on the pitch for the club. He doesn't look like he enjoys himself. Um, and so that's why I think he's just hanging on to something that he knows deep down is dead and he should be moving on from, and he's not moving on from it. So, you know, it is what it is. Um, there's nothing really you could do about that. I don't think there was any other real let me see. I don't think there was any other real news other than this Marcus Rashford stuff that came out today, and it was basically all about Marcus Rashford. Um, so Delo was speaking, saying that, the message was clear from the beginning. If you want to succeed, you have to suffer. It's not just in football, it's in life. You have to work hard. If you want to succeed at this club, you have to suffer. And if you're ready to do it with us, we'll be a good team. Um, a way back is regarded as possible for Garnacho. The feeling at the club is that Rashford's time is up. So that's where we really stand right now, is that Garnacho, it seems like this was a temporary thing. This was more of to really correct their attitude. Marcus Rashford is basically, essentially, if it's not cut already, hanging on a thread at being at Manchester United, and his career continuing at Manchester United. Seems like it's really actually hanging on a thread at this point in time. And it looks like it's going to be over soon. So, I expect something to happen about this. Amorim has decided Rashford needs to leave. I mean, this is coming from Jamie Jackson. He's a pretty credible guy. So I guess we'll see in the next couple weeks. Because the January transfer window is coming very soon. So I guess we'll see if United actually do try to move Marcus Rashford on. It's going to be an interesting January, I think. first real one under Ineos, because they kind of took over in January, and they were, we didn't have the hierarchy in place. But the hierarchy is about to be 1 year in, so we're obviously settled, and they should be ready for this January transfer window. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of business we actually do. Um, and there was something about Mazzawari, and they said early indications are that Mazzawari is good. Further investigation needed for Mount to too early to give an indication on timeout. So I guess that's why Maz was subbed, because he had maybe like a slight injury problem, so he was subbed off. So Maz, and that's not the first time that's happened, but he's still been fit and he still plays for us. So precautionary is best, for sure. And reading on this stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much all of the news. So, um, yeah, I know this was sort of a surprise last minute live stream. It wasn't planned because I wasn't supposed to be doing it. But that was kind of my bad because um I didn't realize the time that I would be getting out of work. So, um I will be able to actually probably go live again tomorrow at around the same time. Um, so I know it's kind of late, but I just wanted to come on here and kind of do this live stream about Marcus Rashford because I thought it was some pretty big news, developing news. Wanted to come give my opinion and hear some of you guys' opinion. Um, I don't know why RSV's messages get retracted. They shouldn't get retracted. I don't understand why they get retracted. Um, because I read those messages out, and his messages literally had nothing wrong in them. So, I don't know why your messages got retracted, RSV. That's really weird. Shouldn't be happening. You literally had nothing wrong in the messages. Um, but uh, I'm gonna. That's it for the show today. Uh, we'll probably be back tomorrow. I just came on. I wanted to do the short one. There wasn't much news. It was really just a Marcus Rashford kind of show. Late last minute. Um, but tomorrow we'll be back around the same time. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 9 p.m. UK time. Around that time, maybe a little bit earlier. Um, maybe by 30 minutes or so. So be on the lookout for that, and hopefully you guys join and we'll discuss whatever is talked about. Right before I get off, something just came out that I want to read. Saying that rumors of Marcus Rashford leaking the Manchester United lineups are false, and that is from the Muppeteers. So apparently it's not Marcus Rashford either. So really interesting. Would love to know who it actually is. Would actually love to get some reports. Some type of something that factual that indicates who it is. Hopefully the club gets to the bottom of it, because this is actually causing just mass hysteria in the fan base, and it's not good in the fan base. So we got to figure that out. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with the Red Devil Daily. We'll do another one. I'll see you all then. Be good. If you smash the like button for me, thank you. I appreciate it. If you haven't, please do so, and I greatly appreciate it. It helps the channel a lot. And we'll talk tomorrow about whatever comes out. So everybody take care. And we'll see you later.